complete permit.
Okay.
They are tapping out.
All right, and Sergeant, if you can swear in Mr.
Look
Huey.
at this. This is day 153. Wow.
Yes. My name MARQUAVIOUS Huey.
Gunner, we have just received the redacted document here, so if I can have an opportunity just to execute the...
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I like this attorney. I like this cat. He's a fly older cat. I like his swag. I like his little, him and his homeboy. I guess this guy right here works with him, the little beard game they keep. I like this guy. Let's go. Very intellectual when he speaks. Very intelligent.
Right.
And Mr. Matthews, just so that the record is clear, I know that y'all are just now signing the, I guess it's still a, what, 5-page document?
Look at King Slime. King Slime is getting uneasy. Or maybe he's thinking, you guys are some sellout lames. And maybe he's thinking, I'm holding. I'm not copying no pleas. Which, hey, it's 50-50, right? He can hold out and get everything dismissed, which I highly doubt that, but I think he's got a good team of attorneys, right? But you only need like 2 crimes to get like convicted of the RICO, like just two criminal acts, right? From what I understand. And if it goes left and you take it to trial, homeboy, you're gonna have a Mack truck slamming you on your head full of time. That's gonna feel like a million bricks hit you on top of the head, bro. Let's go.
That this is not the first time you're seeing the most of what's in that document, correct?
Absolutely
This is,
not.
Now, I don't know his name, and he's been pretty quiet, but anyway, let's go.
right.
we've seen
So
this.
there were a couple of items removed from the sentencing acknowledgments at your request. Is that right?
That is correct, Your
Okay.
Honor.
And otherwise, other than that section 4, everything has essentially stayed the same with regard to the rest of the document. Is that correct?
That is also correct.
All right. And you and Mr. Matthews and Mr. Huey were aware of the changes that were getting made?
Yes.
All right. Do y'all need any additional time to look over the refreshed document?
We do not, Your
All
Honor.
right.
I've reviewed it, and we are ready to proceed.
All right.
What is Mr. Slime doing when he's always scrunching up his face?
Any additional time to look over
What,
the,
yeah, that. What is that, Mr. Slime? Like, why? I'm just curious, like, what is that? Are you, like, thinking and then you're thinking of something, and every time you think of it, it's probably the same thing. This is just my assumption. Then you screw your face up. Okay. Forget it.
refreshed document?
We do not, Your
All
Honor.
right.
I've reviewed it, and we are ready to proceed.
All right. Sounds good.
You know, where those legal zero rights.
Okay, I have it.
Did you want to see the first one?
No, that's all right. It's essentially the same. Okay, thank you. So you've got the waiver of rights and this separate kind of list of the charges and the sentences. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. The indictment.
And the indictment is with Ms. Rosser. I'm ready whenever.
Mr. Hill, you can please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the evidence
Here
shall
we
be
go.
presented in the matter now pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You can put your hands down.
I think he already got sworn, so you're double sworn at this point.
Please state your true and correct legal name.
MARQUAVIOUS Huey. MARQUAVIOUS. HUEY.
And are you the same Marquavius Huey on indictment 22 SC 183572?
Yes.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No.
How old are you?
28.
And how far did you go in school?
12th grade high school diploma.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you were, in this indictment, charged with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, which carried a sentence of 5 to 20 years?
Yes.
Count 3, you were initially charged with armed robbery, which carried a sentence of 10 to 20 years or life.
Yes.
You were charged with count 4 and 5 of this indictment, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which each carried a sentence of 1 to 20 years.
Yes.
You were charged with count 6 and count 7 in this indictment, which you charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
Yes.
Wow, there it
And that
is.
carried a sentence of 5 years to serve consecutive to any other count in the indictment.
Yes.
You were also charged with armed robbery in counts 14 and 15.
Yes.
Also charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for count 16 and 17.
God.
Yes.
You were charged with hijacking a motor vehicle in the first degree.
Yes.
You were initially charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
Yes.
You are
Counts
a
19 and
monster.
20. You were charged with 4 counts of participation in criminal street gang activity, which were counts 21, 22, 23, and 46.
Yes.
And you were charged with possession of a weapon by an incarcerated individual, which was count 44.
You gave them the whole chicken, huh, man? You did the whole thing. Golly, let's go.
And possession of a telecommunication device by an incarcerated individual, which was count 45.
There's gotta be a
Those were
murder
your
in
initial
this.
charges in this indictment.
Yes.
Gotta
You
be.
understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to these charges.
Yes.
And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to go over this waiver of rights form with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this your signature on this document, on page 4 of this document?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorneys, Carrington Matthews Sr. and Carrington Matthews Jr., about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes.
Do you need any more time to discuss this matter with your attorney?
Nope.
Are you satisfied with their counsel and representation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Do you waive any defects, if any, with respect to the indictment?
Yes.
Is it your understanding, have you been arrested on all of the charges contained within this indictment?
Yes.
And Mr. Matthews Jr., are you aware of any other outstanding warrants for these charges?
We are not aware of any.
Have your attorneys advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for each charge that you are pleading to?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means that the state will recommend to the court the following sentence?
Yes.
Let me tell you the sentence first. As to count 1, which is conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, the state's recommendation is 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, the balance of 11 years on probation.
Ooh.
As to count 3, armed robbery, based on the negotiations, the state will reduce the armed robbery to robbery and offer a sentence of 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with count 1, the balance
Okay.
of 11 years on probation.
Okay.
As to count 4, aggravated assault
Woo.
with a deadly weapon, the
Ooh.
state will recommend 20 years to serve 9 years in custody, concurrent with counts 1 and count 3.
They are
balance of
hooking
11 years on
you
probation.
up, bro.
As to count 5, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon,
Oh.
the state agrees to null process or dismiss that count.
Jesus.
As to count 6, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, the state's
Ooh.
recommendation is 5 years to serve, consecutive to counts 1, 3,
Oh.
4,
So now you sitting for
15,
14,
and 44.
14
to be
years?
suspended.
Oh,
As to count 7,
okay.
possession of firearms during the commission of a felony, the state will null process or dismiss that count.
Oh, you are
As to
getting,
count 14,
you're getting a platinum record deal.
which is armed robbery, will reduce that to robbery.
You went
20 years
platinum,
to
my
serve 9
friend.
years in custody, concurrent with counts
Concurrent.
1, 3, and 4.
Deal
Balance
of the
11 years on
century.
probation.
God.
Count 15, armed robbery reduced to robbery, 20 years to serve 9 years in custody. Concurrent with
MARQUAVIOUS.
counts
MARQUAVIOUS, you are really felonious.
1, 3, 4,
God.
14, balance of 11 years on probation. Count 16 will be null process or dismissed. Count 17, that count will merge with count 15. Count 18 will be null process or dismissed by the state.
Man,
Count 19, possession
Boy.
of a firearm during the commission of a felony.
you better
will be
do
5 years to serve.
whatever they ask you to do, boy.
5 years to serve consecutive to count
If you got to tell on Young Thug's mama, you better tell, boy.
1, 3, 4,
God.
14, 15, 17, and 44, but concurrent with count 6, and that will be suspended. Count 20 will be null process or dismissed by the state.
Jesus. You were getting it in.
Count 21 will be 5 years to serve, concurrent with counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19,
Jesus
and 44.
Christ. They had to map all your charges out on a whiteboard before they delivered this to the judge, because you are ridiculous, MARQUAVIOUS. Ridiculous.
Count 22 will be null process or
God.
dismissed by the state, as well as count 23 will be
You were like a one-man wrecking crew, huh? You're like a one-man gangster. You're a one-man gangbanger. Golly.
null process or dismissed by the state. Count 44, possession of a weapon by an incarcerated individual. will
My
be 5 years
God.
served concurrent with counts 1, 3, 4, 14, 15, and 17. And counts 45 and 46 will be null
Sounds like she's calling out bingo numbers or something.
process or dismissed by the state. Do you understand that that's the state's recommendation?
Yes.
Do you understand that the total sentence is 25 years to serve 9 years in custody with a balance of 14 years? 9 of those 14 years will be served on probation and 5 years will be suspended. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Woo.
Do you understand that the court does not have to accept that recommendation?
Yes.
And the court can sentence you to the maximum of each charge and can run those charges consecutively, one after the other.
Yes.
Do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
My God.
Do you understand if you are currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on your answering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
You were trying to sew up the city, MARQUAVIOUS.
I said if you are placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence.
Yes.
And do you understand that there were several special conditions of probation that you must adhere to, which are contained within this documentation?
Yes.
And have you had an opportunity to go over each of these special conditions with your attorneys?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
And did you also go over with your attorneys your sentencing acknowledgement regarding this plea agreement?
Yes.
And is this also your signature on this documentation?
It
with
better
your
be.
attorney going over
That
each
better
of
be
the
your
sentencing-
signature, boy.
Excuse me, each of the special conditions of probation?
Yes.
And did you fully understand the special conditions of
Right.
probation?
Tell her yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank God. You are a menace to society. Golly.
Ms. Hilton, can you pass that document up to the court, please?
Yeah, please pass those documents up to the court so we can go and get your butt out of here.
Did you want to review before I continue?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. Whatever you want to do.
Do you understand that you are not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes.
Do you understand that you are not a United States citizen, a guilty?
I'm going to add something further to that, MARQUAVIOUS. As long as you live, you are never allowed to own a gun, be in the presence of a gun, participate in any law enforcement, no security guard jobs for you involving a firearm. You're not even allowed to buy or possess firecrackers for the 4th of July because you, my friend, are completely out of control.
Guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just like a conviction at a trial
God.
would, and that this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else.
Yes.
Do you understand that neither the court, your attorney, nor the district attorney's office has anything to do with parole, the Department of Corrections, or the Board of Pardons and Parole, and no one can guarantee parole no matter what anyone has told you?
Yes.
Do you understand that there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea conviction, just as there would be from a conviction following a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, your right to obtain a passport, your right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or use a firearm in a crime, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison?
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you have the right to a trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right...
MARQUAVIOUS, if you ever make it into another courtroom after we're giving you this hookup, I don't care what it's for. If you make it into a courtroom again, you, my friend, will be receiving life without parole, buddy.
to testify to
Damn
remain
it.
silent and not incriminate yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights? And after each right, I'll ask you to respond. The right to trial by jury,
Yes.
the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself,
Yes.
Give it
the right to
all
confront
up.
witnesses against you,
All of it.
Yes.
the right to assistive counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel if you cannot afford an attorney at the trial of your case,
Yes.
the right to presumption of innocence,
Yes.
the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence,
Yes.
the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence,
Yes.
the right to have the charge against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt,
Yes.
and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No.
With respect to indictment 22 SC 183572, how do you plead to the charges in that indictment?
I plead guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and
It
voluntarily
better
given
be
with
guilty.
a full knowledge of charges
You
against
better plead
Yes,
guilty.
ma'am.
Do you understand that you may have only a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand you have 4 years from today's date to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness and constitutionality of this guilty plea?
Yes.
Do you understand that you have 30 days in which to appeal your conviction based on your plea today?
Yes.
And do you understand that you have until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw your guilty plea?
Yes.
Your Honor, if this case were to go to trial, the state would expect, or if we were to continue this trial, the state would expect to show, or evidence has shown and will show, that Mr. Huey conspired with others to participate in YSL through a pattern of racketeering activity, and multiple defendants, as well as unindicted co-conspirators, have committed overt acts to further this conspiracy, to include drug sales, aggravated assault, and murder. Also, it includes posting on social media, asserting the violent nature of and the dominance of Young Slime Life, aka YSL. Specifically, Mr. Huey himself participated in 2 robberies. He posted on social media, and he engaged in text messages with his fellow co-conspirators. On April 26, 2019, Mr. Huey, along with another individual, armed robber Mr. Dewan Maynard, at an apartment complex located on Masargo Drive in the Buckhead neighborhood in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County. He robbed Mr. Maynard at gunpoint and pistol whipped him. Mr. Huey was wearing a very distinctive yellow jacket. He stole a ring, a necklace, a luxury wallet, and other items.
My
He was led to
God.
the scene in a black Mustang. Portion of this robbery, Your Honor, was caught on surveillance video. After the robbery, Mr. Huey was seen on his social media account with the ring and necklace
What is wrong with you, man?
identical to the items that were stolen from Mr. Maynard. Additionally, on Instagram, Your Honor, on social media, there were several pictures of Mr. Huey photographed next to a black Mustang. There were several pictures. Lastly, there were pictures of Mr. Huey on his social media wearing the same distinctive yellow jacket that was seen on the surveillance video. Based on that evidence, Your Honor, arrest warrants were issued for Mr. Huey. While on bond for the April 2019 armed robbery, Your Honor, on October 1st, 2020, Mr. Huey went to the apartments located at 250 Fulton Street, Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, to meet with Mr. Gary Holloman. Gary Holloman, who is now deceased, told law enforcement officers on the night that he was robbed that Mr. Huey, who he knew, asked to meet with him so that Mr. Holloman could give Mr. Huey money to put on another co-conspirator to Aquarius Mender's books or commissary at the Fulton County Jail. Aquarius Mender, who is a co-defendant and co-conspirator,
Wow.
is the nephew of Gary Holloman. Mr. Mender and Mr. Huey were friends or are friends. Mr. Holloman agreed to meet with Mr. Huey at the location. While at the location, Mr. Huey, along with another individual, approached Mr. Holloman. One person had an assault rifle. They took from Mr. Holloman his car and his money. They also robbed another young lady by the name of Misha Coppage. Mr. Huey and the other unidentified individual fled the scene and left. Mr. Holloman immediately called the police. When police arrived, Mr. Holloman was able to use another cell phone to track his phone. He was able to track that phone going in the direction of I-75 South, and ultimately that phone was located on Oak Drive, which is in the Cleveland Avenue area, which is the area or territory for Young Slime Life. Also,
Wow.
Mr. Holloman was able to show police officers the social media pages of Mr. Huey to identify him. Initially, the police marked this case as an information, and the case was not initially investigated. However, about 1 month later, Mr. Holloman went to the police headquarters, spoke with investigators. He was able to pick Mr. Huey out of the photographic lineup. Subsequently, investigator Marissa Viverito, who was formerly with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, found a jail call with Aquarius Mender, Mr. Mender's mother, as well as Gary Holloman discussing the robbery and Mr. Holloman discussing what occurred to him. Arrest warrants were taken out for Mr. Huey. He was initially arrested in November of 2020. During that arrest and pursuant to a search warrant, his home was searched. In that search, they found two rifle handguns. Also, they found items belonging to an individual by the name of Chandler Durham. During that search warrant, they seized Mr. Huey's phones and pursuant to a search warrant, did a search of those phones. Upon seeing the items from Chandler Durham, investigator Viverito checked the Atlanta Police Department database to find out if there were any police reports associated with the Chandler Durham. She found a police report from March 12, 2020. In that report, Chandler Durham reported that while he was working at a music studio, his car and additional items to include a luxury bag were stolen. After finding the report, investigator Viverito went through the contents of Mr. Huey's phone, and she saw a few text messages of note. She saw a text conversation on March 12, 2020 between Jeffrey Williams and Mr. Huey. Jeffrey Williams told Mr. Huey that they needed to take that shit back. Mr. Huey denied involvement in taking the items and blamed it on another person.
And you also got a potty mouth, MARQUAVIOUS.
Mr. Williams then told Mr. Huey in his text message, if he doesn't take it back, he's going to die. Also found in Huey's cell phone were two incidents in which Mr. Huey and Mr. Williams were in conversation with each other regarding rival gang member Rayshawn Bennett, aka YSL Lucci. On January 19, 2020, Mr. Williams sent a flyer to Huey with a performance location of YSL Lucci. The text message read, handle that tonight, slapped. Then Huey responded, slap. Your Honor, based on the state's understanding, slap means slime love all the time. Then on September 2nd, 2020, Mr. Huey sent a flyer to Mr. Williams with another performance location of Mr. Rayshawn Bennett. Mr. Williams texted, flag handle and stay very low. Huey's response was slapped and for sure, I've been out the way. And appreciate you for everything, my brother. Never about money with me, I'm built on loyalty.
All that street lingo you got, Mr. MARQUAVIOUS.
Williams' response was slap, handle that, I got you. In 2021, we were able to recover another phone from Mr. Huey after he was subsequently arrested on grand jury warrants. When we did a search warrant of that phone, there was additional communication between Mr. Williams and Mr. Huey. Mr. Huey told Mr. Williams on November 14, 2021, you know I'm ready to handle the business and go sit down if I got to about any one of y'all on my mama. This text message followed information that was provided to investigator Viverito by Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth Copeland, during an October 2021 interview, advised investigator Viverito that he was aware of a potential plot to harm another another rival gang member, Kelvin Watts, also known as Shell Kel, at a venue, Diamonds of Atlanta on Northside Drive. Mr. Coleman advised that he was aware that Huey was to participate in this plot to harm Watts, and he attempted to tell Huey not to participate. Lastly, Your Honor, on February 18, 2022, while housed at the Fulton County Jail, along with Aquarius Mender, they were both housed in the same cell. There was a search of that dorm specifically, and inside of the cell, there was a shank and an illegal cell phone inside of their cell that they shared. And based on what we know from other evidence that we have, that cell phone was used to communicate with other YSL members. Your Honor, this is the evidence that we believe would have come out had we continued with trial. Given where we are, Your Honor, and the charges, we made a decision to resolve this case with Mr. Huey for the offer that was relayed earlier, Your Honor. And I have a copy.
All right, and with regard to the offer, I just wanted to be clear that on counts 6 and 19, which are possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, while this 5-page plea agreement document reflects that those are going to be served on probation, the intention of both parties is that those 2 counts be suspended.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Marquavious, you are nothing short of a domestic terrorist. You are lucky that we are sparing you this time. Come in here one more time and see what's going to happen to your butt.
And in your global sentence, it says 5 years suspended, and so I assume that that's what y'all meant by that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Matthews?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon to this honorable court, Your Honor. I'd like to begin by expressing to the court that we emphatically and categorically deny all of the recitation that's been presented by the court with respect to some of these allegations that's been laid out by the state. However, we do recognize that there are enough factual allegations in the recitation to support each and every count to which Mr. Huey is pleading this afternoon. So we do stipulate that there is enough to move forward with this plea. For those reasons, Your Honor, we are standing before this court to talk to this court about the acceptance of responsibility with respect to Mr. Marquavious Huey. Your Honor, Mr. Marquavious Huey was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He lived in the Jonesboro South community, a neighborhood project in the Atlanta community. He grew up there. He's seen a lot of things in his short 28-year life. His father was murdered in 2010, and he's been without a father for a number of years. He's been raised by his mother as a single parent. He has a number of siblings. There have been times when Mr. Huey and his mother and his family have been homeless and have lived out of a car. So he's had a very, very hard life as it relates to his upbringing. Notwithstanding that, Your Honor, he did manage to graduate from high school. Mr. Huey.
This is no excuse to be a terrorist, and I'm going to tell you why. Like I said before in one of my other videos, my mother and father were dead by the time I was 8. I had to become an adult and figure out where I had to live by the age of 14 and 15, right? I dropped out of school, I got my GED, and then I put myself through college, got a 2-year degree, right? I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just following other people's examples, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. But my point is, that doesn't give you the right to become a domestic terrorist. And I can guarantee you, the only people that you were hurting were black people. So, Mr. Attorney, I appreciate the sentiments. I appreciate you pointing out how difficult his past was. His was difficult, and so was a lot of other people's. That didn't make us turn into domestic Rambo terrorists. No. Okay, but proceed.
Huey, Your Honor, now has 2 children. He's 28 years old. He has 2 children. He has a 5-year-old son, Your Honor. He has a 2-year-old little daughter that was born in July of 2022. He has never met or seen his daughter in person until today, as she's here in this courtroom. He recognizes that choices puts him before this court in this case. Your Honor, we are asking this court to take into consideration that he has no prior felony convictions. I've had a very long time to get to know Mr. Huey because I've been with Mr. Huey on a regular, daily basis during the week since January of 2023. I've got a chance to know him. I've got a chance to work with him on his case regularly. And he wants to, when he gets out of custody, Your Honor, he wants to do a number of things, two in particular. He wants to start and become affiliated with a nonprofit organization where he can be able to talk to young children, teenagers, because he was a teenager when he lost his father, and things began to take a turn for Mr. Huey. He wants to be able to tell teenagers, young boys, young black boys, he wants to be able to say to them, don't do what I did, and you have another way in which you can go. And he wants to be able to
Mr.
share his
Attorney.
experiences.
That sounds good, but you finish up what you saying so I can talk to this boy right here and lock his butt up. Hurry up. Wrap it up, B.
In that way, I have linked Mr. Huey up with an organization called the Young Generation Movement, and I've known that nonprofit organization and the founder.
He wasn't thinking about having a nonprofit organization when he had every pistol known to mankind in Atlanta, putting it in people's, or putting them in people's faces or on their heads, did he? He wasn't thinking about it then, so don't talk to me about it now.
Founder of that organization for a long period of time. He's also present in this courtroom, and I've linked Mr. Huey up with them so that when Mr. Huey gets out of custody, he will be able to have an organization that can mentor him, that he can align himself
That sound
with,
good.
where he can begin to engage himself with anti-violence.
You know what he's going to be doing when he goes to prison? Oh, he's already in prison. You know what he's doing in prison right now? I can guarantee you it. Still thugging. Because now you're in a situation where you have to. Right? So all this stuff you say, you know what? I'm going to let you, I like you though, my man. I'm going to let you keep going. Go ahead.
Nonprofit conduct and mentoring other young people. He also, in terms of being able to earn an income, because he is now, Your Honor, if this court accepts this plea, Mr. Huey will now, for the first time, be a convicted felon. He is not first offender eligible. He wants to get his commercial driver's license, Your Honor, and he wants to get a trucking company and be able to earn a living for himself, because he recognizes that it's going to be a challenge for him to be able to go out and apply for jobs and be able to get income by getting an employer to hire him. So he's going to focus and target himself to be able to fend for himself so that he can take care of his young children that he has helped to bring into this world. Your Honor, we are here before this court because it's an acceptance of responsibility. We recognize that this is...
No, he's here before this court because he's been brought up on such debaucherous, disgusting charges that, yeah, it's not like you were asked to come there, Mr. MARQUAVIOUS. No, you were put in cuffs and brought here. So that's why you're here. Now it's time for you to take your spanking.
This has been a very long, enduring trial, and we have come to a point where we have painstakingly negotiated with the state of Georgia, and we've come up with a negotiated resolution that we believe is one that is fair. We believe that is sufficient to recognize the seriousness of the charges that are before.
And so I guess he's going through all of this because she has the option to not accept this plea. But I think she's going to accept it, but let's see.
The court, and we believe it's one that will cause Mr. Huey to be able to see the light of day in a reasonable period of time. Mr. Huey has been in custody. I'd like to enter into the record, Your Honor, as Defendant's Exhibit 1 for sentencing purposes, a proof of incarceration from the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Huey, through the computations of the various times when he was arrested on these charges and released, and from the time that he's currently been in custody to the present, he has approximately 4 years under his belt against that 9-year sentence, and that 9-year sentence is parolable. So we're going to enter that as an exhibit before the court.
All right, that'll be Defendant's Exhibit 1 to this plea hearing, and as you know, and as I'm sure you have shared with Mr. Huey, it's ultimately the Department of Corrections that calculates the time served portion of the sentence, so it'll ultimately be up to them, but I will include that as a part of my sentencing sheet as well. So
Thank
do
you,
give
Your
them
Honor.
credit for time served.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to represent Mr. Marquavious Huey along with my son, Attorney Carrington Matthews Jr., who also would like to address the court at this time, Your Honor. So we're asking this court to accept the negotiation that has been represented to the court, and Mr. C.J. Matthews.
Yes, good afternoon to this honorable
Good
court.
afternoon, Mr. Matthews.
I've been gracious with this opportunity to represent and serve Mr. Huey. Mr. Huey is an honorable young man. Mr. Huey does not allow his mistakes to define him, but he is remorseful, Your Honor. He has learned, grown, and became a better man during this trial. Mr. Huey will have a release date, Your Honor. And I'm confident in him that he'll be a working class citizen in society when he is released. We thank this honorable court and we respectfully ask this court to accept this plea on today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Huey, I am sure that Mr. Matthews Sr. and Mr. Matthews Jr. have, I know that they have been working with you and negotiating with the state for I'm sure the entire course of this trial and proceeding, but
I have to say it again. This judge seems like a really sweet lady. Like, she's doing what she's got to do, but she's nice about it. And she even kind of comes across like motherly, like understanding the situation. You know what I'm saying? But she's gotta strike that pen on the paper though still, but I like her. I like her.
very, very hard over the last week and a couple of days to get where we are right now. And I know that you know that given the severity and the number of charges that you were facing, that had you been convicted of all of those charges at trial, you were looking at the possibility of 3 consecutive life sentences, plus I think about 100 years after that.
You menace to society, you. Yeah, when I was listening to her, the prosecutor, saying the calculations of the sentences, I was like, this dude is well past life. What's going on? Yeah, you're going to need some time to figure this all out, buddy, because this is your last chance with us.
So the fact that the state is recommending jointly with your attorneys that your total sentence be 25 years with 9 of those to serve is...
God. I don't think Donald Trump could have gotten a better deal than that. I don't know if any negotiator that works for the police force, when they're trying to talk somebody out of having hostages at gunpoint, I don't think that they could have gotten a better deal than this right here. Consider yourself blessed, young man. Consider yourself extremely blessed. And I'm not playing, boy.
It's frankly remarkable and something.
She took the words right out of my mouth. All this time I was thinking, what word can describe this? That would be remarkable, Marquavious.
That you should not take for granted or take lightly at all. These are very serious charges, and hear what
Good God.
both Mr. Matthews have said about the challenges facing you in your life, and I am sorry for the loss of your father. One would hope that to have anybody that they love taken from them in a violent way like murder might
Have
have
empathy.
an impact upon their
compassion.
lives that would lead them in the right direction, but it's
Yeah.
not particularly surprising that sometimes that's not what happens and it goes in a worse direction instead. I hope that with your age and with having really been faced with the distinct possibility of spending the entirety of the rest of your life in prison, the fact that you are getting this opportunity is not going to be wasted. I hope that you appreciate what the Matthews have done to go out of their way to line up somebody to be looking out for you when you are released from prison.
Yes.
I want to ask you, just like I have asked both Mr. Nichols and Mr. Ryan, is this your decision to enter this guilty plea? Because no matter what your attorney's advice is, it's ultimately up to you whether to plead guilty or continue with the trial. So is this what you want to do?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And have you had enough time to consider all of the different scenarios and to discuss everything you wanted to with your attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. All right. I think it's very clear that this plea is to your benefit, considering the potential downside of moving forward with the.
Considering the fact that you are officially an American domestic terrorist. Yeah, this is the deal of a lifetime for you, buddy.
Continued trial. I find there to be a factual basis to this plea. I appreciate the fact that y'all have stipulated that there is a factual basis. And I find the plea to be freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of the consequences, and I will accept it as such. And I will sentence in accord with the negotiated recommendation. I'm not going to read everything out again. We've thankfully got it in writing for the sentence sheet, but in accord with what was put on the record and what is reflected in this this document, with a total sentence of 25 years to serve 9 in custody, balance of 14 years after that, 9 of those on probation and 5 suspended. And I'm going to impose the special conditions that you have already acknowledged and acknowledged that you would abide by. And, you know, somebody with a high school diploma, which is more than a whole lot of people ever achieve. So you've already achieved and proven that you can achieve good things. And who is only 28 years old, and who can really look down and already see the light of day for a release date. You need to make sure that during your time incarcerated that you don't pull any of the kind of thing that you have been, you know, that you actually are pleading guilty to at least some of.
You better listen up, MARQUAVIOUS, whatever your name is. You better listen up, boy.
By having contraband or in any other way getting in trouble, because that's not going to bode well. I am going to recommend a transition program for you. I know that there's a lot of different job training available in our correction system, so I hope that you take advantage of that. And you know, whether it's a commercial driver's license or whether you find something else that you want to do while you're in there, be making good use of your time while you're in there and furthering yourself. And you have had a fine example next to you for the past 2 years of what somebody can do with their lives. So don't forget about that, and be the father that you need to be and that you ought to be to your very young children. They're still going to be very young when you get out. And please make sure that you abide by all your probationary conditions, because if you don't, then you're going to be back to see me. And because I recognize how much of a break you are getting right now, I'm
Here, hold up.
probably.
Listen up to this part right here. Previous. I want you to listen. I'm going to back that up a little bit. Listen to this part loud and clear.
Of a break you are getting right now.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be as lenient if you come back before me again, because you are getting a huge opportunity to turn your life around, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You are getting a 1 in a million deal. This particular deal, it be a 1 of 1. That mean none before it and none to come. In the words of Hova, do you understand that, boy?
All right, so that's the sentence of the court, and I want to wish you good luck and good fortune. You can get through the next few years, and then you can have the rest of your life to do good work with.
Can you address the court?
Yes. I should have asked that, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Judge. Thank you.
I want to thank the court and thank God. And I want to apologize to my kids, my family, and everybody who done supported me in this stressful process. And, I plan to do my time, come back, be a better man.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and don't you say another word. They shouldn't have let you say that. Don't you say another word, damn it. I didn't mean to curse. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse at you, MARQUAVIOUS. Don't you say another word.
Thank you.
Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
Get him out of here. You disgust me.
All right, let's take a recess.